we don't do enforcement or anything. We just make decisions based on looking at the ordinance, doing our best to interpret it.
Yep.
You have the burden of proof. So that means there's four of us here, three of us, if you, to prevail on your appeal, three of us have to vote in your favor.
Okay.
Okay, because it's a majority vote.
Yep.
So that's how the process works. Why don't you go ahead and, unless anybody wants to proceed otherwise, and just tell us your story.
Yeah, I will. I would love to. And again, thanks for hearing this case. Thank you for your time. Before we get into the details of the actual appeal thing, I wanted to discuss the bigger picture because it's pretty clear to me by now that Mark doesn't want me to do business. And that's sort of the overarching thing. The cosmetics of the farm stand is merely cosmetic. Our farm at 122 Atlantic Highway has been, I'm just going to give you a little background just so you know who we are. This is my family behind me. We've been a vibrant part of this town for 30 years. In the mid 1990s, my parents bought this place, rehabilitated the old farm as a place for the community to shop with all things kitchen related. My father baked goods. People came to take cooking classes. The Reverend Bob, he was of St. Giles in Jefferson. He baked with Jim Amaral in the basement at Pinecone Cafe in the early days of Borealis, sold his baked goods on our farm. Jim would come teach baking classes there. Now that he's passed away, my mother, semi-retired, falls on me and my wife and our family to continue the farm's legacy so that our five kids always have their little slice of heaven in Waldeboro. We've spent close to a decade now catering all over the state, but buying our supplies from local providers, sourcing our food from Morning Dew, Wanderwood, Beth's, Lake and Scourges, Delano, etc. in order to sell from our clients has always been a core part of our mission. Providing good, well-paying jobs to locals and giving back to the community by donating our time and money to the food bank, Waldeboro Theater, Business Association, etc. We pride ourselves in our place in this town. A couple of years ago, we came to the planning board with an ambitious plan to save the family farm and to really make something special here in Waldeboro. We wanted to open up the land for events, invite people to stay in our off-grid cabins in the woods, serve them food we grew and cooked ourselves on our farm. Our plans were received very well by Max and the planning board, and the WBA was in full support of our new business plans. And then Mark got wind of it. I don't know what happened, but he stopped that jet in our tracks. His first move was to stop our primitive campsite development by insisting that we have running water and septic for our pit toilet deep in the woods. He explained this was a state regulation since it's not in the town ordinance. This set us back hundreds of dollars, months of time, and untold revenue. I've never seen an outhouse with a hand wash sink in the woods, but turns out nobody has either. Outhouses and campgrounds are regulated by DHHS, and I've had lots of conversations with them. I brought all that documentation as well, even though that's not relevant to this, just in case anybody wanted to see it. The state doesn't require hand wash sinks at primitive campsites in Maine. Next, Mark heard we were opening a farm stand and set about trying to find ways to shut that plan down. First, he tried telling us what products we could sell at our farm stand. And to be really clear, this is something that's regulated by the Maine State Department of Agriculture and is 100% not jurisdiction of the town code enforcement officer. We are fully licensed to sell any prepared food we want from our farm by the Maine Department of Health and Human Services. We hold a catering license in good standing. We hold a liquor license. We are in our fully inspected kitchen, commercial kitchen. We are licensed by the Maine Department of Agriculture to sell anything we grow or make in our kitchen in a retail farm stand or in a mobile capacity, such as a farmer's market. We soon found out, talking to DHHS and the Department of Ag inspectors, that Mark was either woefully uninformed or lying to us. He even went so far as to tell us we could not sell food from our commercial kitchen because that would make us a restaurant. Again, he either spoke out of ignorance or he was once again grasping at straws to keep us from doing business in town. Mark even went so far as to say if we were going to sell bread, we would need to grow the wheat on our farm ourselves. Which is wild. He later took all of that back when he realized that was wrong. So his latest attempt to keep us out of business is to shut down the way our farm stand looks, which is why we're here tonight. We upcycled an old horse trailer this spring, gave it a second life as a farm stand. I removed all the lights, plates, reflectors, anything that would make it roadworthy, so that I could use it as a lockable metal storage space to have a farm stand on the outside of it with a door to it. I restored and patched it, painted it up, set it up so it would be open in the back for people to walk up to, not in, to pick up their prepared food, cut flowers, eggs, produce, bread, etc. We like it because it's lockable and secure, which was a concern of ours because our farm stand is so far away from our house. If you've seen our new driveway, you understand what I'm talking about. We chose this trailer so we could move it away from the road in the winter when the stand closed. The more we looked at other farm stands around town, we found that many of them have wheels, so they could be moved away as well. Even drove by Catbird Farm the other day. Theirs is the back of an old truck. So, and I've seen old trailers being used as farm stands. I've seen, all kinds of vehicles. Repurposing stuff to use it as a farm stand, having it on wheels seems to be completely normal. So you might wonder why our farm stand was targeted when others were not. Well, for starters, there's no application process for a farm stand. It's not over, 100 square feet. There's no application. We're not even talking about a denial of an application. They don't have any water or septic, so they don't need a plumbing inspection. They don't have electricity, so they don't need an electrical inspection. They're under 100 square feet, so they don't need a building permit or inspection. In reality, nobody worries about farm stands because there's nothing to worry about. Nobody's life's in danger here. The Maine Department of Agriculture licenses farm stand, inspects the kitchen, but there's no reason for the town to be involved in this because there's no danger to anyone. The only thing I see in the town ordinance is that it needs to be 100 feet from the road, which I don't think anybody does, but I did. I've taken up a lot of your time already, and this whole farm stand process has been an incredible waste of government time. This has been dozens of emails, hours of meetings, countless phone calls, just because Mark doesn't like the way our farm stand looks, or how our outhouse sink works. In the end, we've lost thousands of dollars in revenue. My family has put in a huge garden this year to use this farm stand. It's now been, at least a month we could have been open. And we're losing money every week because of this. It's super heartbreaking because everybody in my family's been working really hard on this. I'm not sure why I've been targeted for harassment. And what Mark is up to with this. He stated that his reasoning for denying my non-application was that it used to be a vehicle and therefore can't call it a farm stand now. This is not based on anything in the town ordinance, nor supported by any state or laws that I can find. It's not supported by any precedent. In fact, it's quite common. Again, it seems like Mark is just attempting to block us from providing the community with our food. And that's a bigger problem than just my farm. Because I'm sure this will keep coming up. So thank you for that.
So, as I understand it, we're not even looking at the context in which the farm stand issue arises. I mean, you've mentioned that the state governs a lot of this.
Yep.
And you mentioned that, for example, if you're that they regulate mobile.
Yeah.
vehicle.
Yep.
In the terms of dispensing food and so forth.
Yep.
So, and we're not determining whether or not if your vehicle were determined to be mobile, it will be governed by state law rather than local law.
Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
So we're not going to that. All we're going is to the question you put to us, which is under the ordinance. Is a is what you're using as you've described it.
Yep.
Does that constitute a farm stand for land use ordinance purposes?
Correct.
Okay. So does anyone have questions? Any member of the audience wish to speak on this topic? Okay. Liz, Steve?
I just had a clarification question because you've constructed an actual booth outside of this trailer, which is the farm stand, correct?
You're talking about the wooden one that I put up? I did that because I didn't know how this meeting would go. So I wanted a backup plan because I need to start selling this weekend.
Okay.
So I
So-
put more money into this problem.
What I'm getting at is that if you have a booth and that's the farm stand, then your trailer is just a trailer with stuff in it.
Correct.
So there wouldn't be no meeting that would be needed at that point. Because
There never was a meeting
That
needed.
means you would be in compliance with the way the statute was written because you constructed a stand and you'd have a trailer there, it just happens to be there.
Right.
With stuff in it, as long as you're not selling it out of the trailer, then,
But
right?
let's go back to selling out of the trailer.
Yeah.
If we're talking about a trailer with the door open and then it's an open area that people can walk up into and buy. What part of that isn't in the, like, what about that doesn't comply with the town ordinance?
Well, that's the question.
Yeah.
The question is, that the ordinance, the state statute on this doesn't, make a list of things that qualify as stands. It's just a broad farm stands.
Farm stand. Yep. So it's
But so it's
cosmetic.
left to the municipalities like
Okay.
Waldeboro. Waldeboro has enumerated what it thinks, at least at the moment, are farm stands.
Yeah.
So it's listing them. So the question is, the trailers are not listed as farm stands in the ordinance. I'm not even sure the and again, I'm asking you if you had if what you've got, it constitutes a mobile situation, then the state governs that and not the town. as
No,
I
I'm not
understand.
looking for a mobile
Okay,
situation.
then that's not our jurisdiction anyway.
Yeah.
Our jurisdiction is the question you put to us, is a
Right.
trailer a farm stand?
I think in some of the correspondence that I read there, I think the root of the issue here is when or if a trailer no longer is a trailer and when it's repurposed to become something else, such as a booth, a stand, a stall, or some other temporary structure. And I know Mark's position on this in the emails to Shane were that, a trailer is defined by, motor vehicle as, as such and such. And, the definition is provided, and that it has a VIN number and so forth. But at what point, if at all, I mean, this is the question, I think, at the root of this, can a trailer be converted to something other than a trailer? So, I mean, I was careful to pick up something that you said. You said, you thought about the trailer because it meets your needs, but also because in the winter you could then haul it up, and get it away from the road, which implies that you still want to use it as a trailer,
Not on my property.
right, on your property, but
Correct.
still it meets the definition of the state of what a trailer is. But if you were to not, if you were to like relinquish that option of moving it around, I do believe that there is probably a way that Shane could convert the trailer so that it's no longer a trailer. He could affix it to a foundation. He could take the wheels off. And I think we're the wrong people to talk to about what you would need to do to make the trailer no longer a trailer. And I would say maybe just contacting the Department of Motor Vehicles to say, I've got a trailer. I assume, you know, you're the owner of the trailer, it has a VIN, it's registered as a trailer. So what would you need to do to potentially convert the trailer? Because people do this all the time.
But-
They convert. I know Mark's position was a car is always a car, even if
Yeah.
you take the motor out. I
Yeah.
read that. But in this day and age, people take buses and make them into tiny homes, and I know there's legal definitions for all of the above.
Yep.
But if you if that trailer, horse trailer of yours is the perfect layout for your farm stand, I do believe that you could probably figure out a legal way to convert the trailer into becoming a farm stand. And then it would be a matter then of coming back to us and saying, you know, the trailer is no longer registered as a trailer. It's been modified so that it's not mobile anymore. It's not registered as a trailer anymore. It's not recognized as such. And then does the structure that exists, the modified structure, then meet the definition of the town, which is, has it morphed into a booth, a stall, a stand, or some other temporary structure? And I think that would be fairly easy to do. That's my opinion.
Yeah. like-
Because when you
but is
look
there-
at the definitions of booth, stall, stand, and structure, you know, there's a lot of wiggle room there. And the town is even actually defining a farm stand by defining a stand as a stand. And so I think there's room to do that.
I'm still confused as to, again, you're talking about something cosmetic. You're not, I mean,
No, functional.
no,
No,
but
functional. It's whether
So-
it can
so if
move
I-
or not.
I know, but
And it is a.
lots of farm stands move.
So I even
So if I
thought,
built it out of wood but put wheels on it, then it's okay, but because it is built out of metal, it's like, again, it feels like it's cosmetic
well,
because,
we're all living within the definition that exists for us, which is trailer is a vehicle without motive power designed to carry
no, but
persons. blah, blah, blah,
not
blah.
that definition,
And
the
it has a
definition of
VIN
what the,
number. I'm assuming it has a VIN number. And I even looked into whether you could scratch a VIN number or if you can't. Although you might want to talk to the DMV about, as the owner of the trailer, if you no longer want to use it as a trailer, you know, as the owner, do you have the legal right to remove the VIN? Because otherwise there is so much regulation about who can remove VINs.
but can you show me where in the town ordinance it says that a vehicle can't be a stand?
Not listed in
It's
the.
not our job to show you that.
Right.
What, I don't understand, like, that's
It's
a,
our job to interpret what town ordinance means.
so, but it doesn't say that it can't be a vehicle.
Understanding the whole reason the interpretation function that we perform is required
Okay,
is that the ordinance is never going to be able to, in great detail, cover everything. So that's why everybody's here trying to figure out,
yeah.
is a trailer a structure or not?
And again, that's why I started this by saying that this whole thing, to me, seems like a targeted massive waste of time. Because I understand when you're putting electricity into some place, human lives are at risk. When you're putting subsurface water in place, the environment's at risk. What is going on here? This is all this town money is being spent to talk about the way a farm stand looks. Like, what's the purpose of all of this? That's what really confuses me. Not the definitions of what a booth is, which is a very not well-defined thing. And of course, you can define that however you want. If it's wood, it is. If it's metal, it's not. If it used to be this, if you upcycle it, okay. You guys obviously have the right to define that because that term is so broad. You can shoot it down. But the point that I'm trying to make is, why are we doing all of this over something that all I'm trying to do is serve the food that I legally am allowed to do in a thing that I own? And why is the town getting involved in that when it's not a structure that's inspectable, when it's not, doesn't have electricity, or there's no fire risk, there's none of that? Why are we spending all of this time and resources to do that?
It's not, again, it's what I started out with about the limitations of what this group can do, this board can do.
Yeah,
it doesn't have authority or maybe even the wisdom to answer that question, but certainly doesn't have the authority or the jurisdiction. All we can deal with is what the ordinance tells us our subject matter is. And you've asked us, you're the one that's come before us.
Yep.
And asked us to define whether or not your trailer, as you've described it and drawn it, is a food stand. That's the only thing in front of us. We can't decide anything else.
My impression or interpretation of farm stand, it describes it as a booth, stall, stand, or temporary structure. And I would take from that that it can't be mobile.
Temporary? What are you gonna do with it?
I mean, that's the definition in the thing, but I mean, if you Google farm stand, most of them have wheels because people put them out in the summer and move them away. That's just what it is.
And it's not road viable at all. The lights are painted over, the wheels are near deflated, it's not hitched to anything. It's not registered and it's far from the road. It's more than 100 feet from the road. And the only place it will be moving will be further onto the property and then back to its place about 100 feet from the road. This vehicle is nowhere near roadworthy and we would never take it on the road.
Right, and the DOT planned the road so that people could drive into the farm stand and allotted for them to back up appropriately, all approved by the DOT.
I feel like it's wild that I've gone to all the different departments that I need to go to be licensed to do this. I'm not doing anything that hurts the town or puts anybody at risk. So why?
That's beyond the scope of what we have the authority to decide. You've asked for this hearing.
I know.
We have a limited scope. As you put the question to us under the ordinance, all we're deciding is that.
Okay,
We're not deciding anything else. We don't have authority. to
so, but
decide.
you are deciding that
No.
That
permit
this-
Needed.
is not a booth. Is that what you're saying?
We haven't, we haven't.
Okay,
We're
I'm
still
just,
talking about. All I'm
okay.
saying is, you've asked us.
I'm
Here's what you've
just,
drawn up there, a
there's
farm
four
stand.
different words in the ordinance.
That's right.
Can I ask a question?
And
Why, again, Shane didn't have to submit a plan for this because it was under the amount of square footage. He
Right.
didn't have to go in front of anybody to ask. We had DHS in our kitchen for over 2 hours. We had the state of, the agriculture there. We have been approved for every license. I hold the Serve Safe. I've been an executive chef for over 20 years. We have the commercial kitchen. We have a retail license, a catering licenence. Shane didn't have to be
Did
approved.
they look at the trailer?
She
They-
looked at,
they-
I mean, she have talked about the cabin. We have several emails back and forth with us that she said nothing over 5 primitive cabins needs a hand washing sink.
No, I'm not talking
Right,
about.
but she's.
Oh, when it comes-
Sticking to
when it comes to this, she gave me a,
Down there and put
she
a
gave me a,
refrigerator in it and sell refrigerated food in it if we wanted to. We go to her because she's telling us where to start this business. She said we can serve ready-to-go foods in there. We could actually take our wholesale license and repurpose foods from other farms and sell it in our farm stand. So we have already been approved to do so. I mean, she's talking about the capabilities and the trajectory of our farm with the future.
We're only, again,
But we didn't have to ask for a permit, so where is? the
I don't know why,
overreach to
we're not
say-
even getting to the issue of whether or not a permit is required.
Right, but that's
We're
what I'm
here.
saying, where did that
It's
email
not, I don't
start
know.
to start this
that came
conversation?
from me because I like to come to the town hall and talk through ideas before we do them. And maybe that's a really stupid idea, but what I like to do is come down here and talk to Max. Max, is this a good idea? What's in the ordinance that I need to look at? Max has been super helpful through everything with sending me the right parts of the ordinance to look at. That helped me plan because it says put back 100 feet. I wouldn't have seen that because nobody else's farm stand is back 100 feet. But so I did. I set back, measured it out 100 feet back.
But we're not even, again, these are
Yep.
good questions you're asking and good comments everyone's making. but we're not, you didn't
Okay.
ask us to come here to determine whether or not you needed a permit.
Yeah.
We haven't looked at that issue at all. You just asked us to interpret
Yeah.
farm stand.
Okay,
That's all you've asked us to do tonight.
Yep.
So if you don't need it, if we say it's not a farm stand, that's all it means. I don't know what else, if you don't think you need a permit, whether or not it's a farm stand, that's not what you've asked us to talk about
Okay.
tonight, right?
Yep.
So I don't even know, you see, so we didn't look at that. You've only asked us to look at that one interpretation, and that's
right,
all
right, which
we-
is why I said we needed to look at the bigger picture, because it's confusing as to why we're looking at this. You know, that it didn't make sense to me as to why we would even be in this place to be talking about interpreting what constitutes a booth and what doesn't constitute a booth. That's a tough one, you know?
But you didn't ask us to figure that out. You just asked us for an interpretation of farm stand. That's all you asked
Right.
for.
Yeah, it's a hearing on what is a farm stand,
Right.
actually.
Right.
And
Well, I actually think it's even goes a step beyond that. It's when does, if in our definition currently, a farm stand is not, one of the options is not defined as a trailer. The issue is what modification needs to be made to a trailer that can convert it into a booth, a stall, a stand, or a temporary structure.
We can't do that. So it's beyond our authority. All we can do is look at what's in front of us.
Well-
Anything else we do is ex officio.
Maybe us, but I'm talking more generally that Shane does have an email from Mark that basically says a trailer is always a trailer and will always
But I don't
forever
see
be
how
a
that-
trailer.
But I don't see
But
how
we're
that
not deciding
relates
that.
to.
We're not deciding that.
But that was,
We're
I
only
thought that was
deciding-
critical
That's it,
to
yes.
the sort of the denial of Shane to operate out of his trailer.
Yes.
Is that a
Okay.
trailer is a trailer and it's a mobile thing and it's therefore not meeting the town's definition of a farm stand.
And the
Especially
reason- the
where
reason-
mobile food stands are covered by the state, regulated by the state, and
Mhm.
we don't, as I understand it, and we don't
Right.
have, right? We wouldn't even,
Right.
you wouldn't even have come here if you were gonna make it
Right.
a mobile stand.
Right.
So,
Well, and also, I mean, understand that before we got to this definition of now it's a trailer. Before that, it was, you can't serve bread because you're not a wheat farm.
Right, but I'm
There-
trying to
there-
stick to what's.
I
in
understand,
front of
but
us.
you understand what I'm saying is,
Just trying to get.
this
us to
was-
stick to the- what's
this
here.
was, you're not gonna do business and I'll find something.
Right.
but
To keep
for-
you out of
for what-
business.
For our purposes, you're just again, we're focused. We don't have any more
Mhm.
authority, right?
Yeah,
So a lot of it, we appreciate the introduction, but a lot of it doesn't bear on
So
our.
this is the structure though, that the structure you want to use was formerly a horse trailer.
correct.
Like
It's
30
actually
years.
designed as a horse trailer,
Yeah,
right?
And it's no longer.
but that's,
You're telling me you're telling us it's not registered any longer.
I took off all the lights. You can't even drive.
But it hasn't been
Lights, the wheels
registered in
flat.
years. It was previously a portable bar for a different venue. And we purchased it as a portable bar. We have a liquor license and then we repurposed it into a farm stand.
We
So
were-
it has already been.
So you didn't even purchase it as a trailer with a
Correct.
VIN number?
Never.
I
Never
don't been using.
have
it.
a-
If I can just step in, just because there's a few voices going around, just to how decorum's supposed to go. It is supposed to just be more of a conversation between the Board of Appeals and the appellant.
Mhm.
If you're part of the appellant, probably should be up there, but one at a time. I'm only just saying that because
Thanks, Mike.
I do have been on my vacation after this, so I want to make sure we have an orderly time on this.
It is not a horse trailer. It has not been ever used as a horse trailer. It was used as a bar. So it was used in a venue previous to that. We ripped out those pieces, put in a new floor, put in a counter, painted it. That's it.
Yeah, there's in the ordinance, food truck is defined as a licensed vehicle from which food is sold at temporary sites with the permission of the owner of the lot. And, farm stand is a booth, stall, or stand or temporary structure from which produce, farm products, and other food-related items are sold to the public. And so the issue here is a food truck, a booth, stand, stall, or temporary structure.
Any other comments, questions? Any other comments from the questions, statements, information you want to impart?
I think what we're just trying to explain is that not only has this trailer not been used as a horse trailer in many years, but it is completely unable to be used as a horse trailer. If any of you have seen it, or if any of you would like to see it, we have completely redone the inside. It now has fake tile on the floor and wood, so it will never be used as a horse trailer again. The lights are painted over. I think what we're trying to say is that this, whether or not a horse trailer is the definition of a stand is less applicable, because this is no longer a horse trailer. This vehicle is I would say it's a stand. It
Movable
sits
shed.
there. It has an open and closing door. It hasn't been a horse trailer in years, and I would no longer consider it a horse trailer. And I think that is why we said we would consider it a food stand or a booth stand.
We're going on what it would, if you had submitted some more pictures showing some of this, maybe that makes a difference, but we're going on what. And that's what you've asked us to interpret. is what
Absolutely.
you are not under the ordinance.
And
I
if
mean,
the
can a-
stand
can a-
is able to sell
can a
food
farm
that
stand
we
move?
produce.
If we decide tonight that a farm stand can't move, what implications does that have
I don't
for
think we're.
all the
deciding-
other farm
No, We're
stands?
not deciding that. All we're
Okay.
deciding is whether or not what you have and you gave us.
Yeah.
Is a farm stand. It's very narrow
Yep,
and it's just what you have there.
Yeah, we can't change the ordinance the way we want it to look.
gotcha.
But
So-
you know, I have to interject here a little, because I think, we also have a responsibility to provide some guidance,
Yeah,
in using our sort of interpretation. And we keep going back to this definition in the ordinance. I know that the appeals committee doesn't have the authority to change the wording. But I do think the town has a responsibility perhaps of revisiting its definition, because the existing definition, in my estimation, doesn't provide the kind of guidance that folks like Shane need as they're considering an option
Yeah,
to
and-
develop a farm
And
stand.
there's a provision in the ordinance that tells us
Mhm.
when we come across that, we're supposed to tell the town.
well,
Mark
we
wants
also have another ordinance called the food sovereignty ordinance in this town. And that speaks strong language about the encouragement of farm stands and the rights to sell food and all that stuff. So people are very protected under that ordinance, because I pushed that to be passed. Unfortunately, the ordinance doesn't address specifically definitions of farm stands, because that's the
Yep.
area that we're addressing now.
Right.
But the language in the food sovereignty ordinance is like crystal clear guidance as far as what the position of the town should be when looking at subject matters like food stands and farm stands, to be able to promote people's wanting to be able to have that to sell to the community. And so, we just can't, we don't have the authority to actually rewrite it and say, well, we should think it should say this, because it's not in our authority.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, under that ordinance,
yeah,
is there like an appellate? How does that feed into the land use ordinance? How much can we pull that in or not? I mean, I haven't even read it, so I don't know.
So there's areas where it talks about disputes, and it's handled in the civil courts.
Okay,
So the town steps away, and the citizens are regulating their own food stand area,
I see.
right? So if you buy a rotten apple or something like that, the town's not having a hearing on your rotten apple, like,
Yeah.
you gotta deal with it themselves.
okay.
Because there's an implied consent. But specific matters like, now we're looking at what a farm stand should look like, or what, it has to be in these things. And what's interesting about a horse trailer is technically it's a stall, because if you drive a horse to an event, it's a stall. So it's got another purpose other than just hauling a horse in it. If your tack's in there, it's a stall. And a stall in a barn is less clean than a trailer that's been gutted out and put tile on the floor. So technically the trailer is clean, more clean than the actual. If you go into the guy's barn and he's selling food out of his stall, like you may actually have an unclean condition there, right? So you'd be better off to have a gutted trailer that's prepared to have food in it.
But there's a different authority that judges whether, whatever the stand, booth, temporary structure, whether it meets the health standard
Yeah,
for
The
selling
state
the
would be involved with that.
produce or whatever that is being sold within it. That's not even, I think, within our jurisdiction at all.
Yeah,
You know, so, you know, if you go strictly by booths, we can only go by booth, stall, stand, or temporary structure. When you look up each of those definitions, booth, stand, stall, structure, in like the dictionary, it actually doesn't provide a lot of guidance. It doesn't. And I mean, the fact that it doesn't say it's mobile, like to say, you know, to your point, it doesn't say it can't be mobile.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's,
So.
it doesn't say it can't be a trailer either. It just says.
So I
you
think
know.
I interpreted what we were asked to do was to, you know, Shane was sort of coming to us to appeal Mark's decision, to be frank. And I know Mark has his hand up, he wants to say something and he should. Mark's interpretation was this can't be approved because it doesn't meet the definition of a trailer. This is the definition of a trailer, and a farm stand doesn't include, you know, a trailer. So it's all about, it's about definitions. And so I was, in terms of providing Shane guidance, is there a way that a trailer becomes something other than a
We
trailer?
can't give him guidance. It's not,
I
it's
mean,
not our
you
authority.
said
We're-
it's a
act-
stall.
It's actually not our
Always was.
authority and we'd get in trouble and it would be,
Well, I mean, oh,
right?
maybe I shouldn't say this, but, you know, looking at the definitions of stall, stand, temporary structure, and then looking at the pictures that drawings that Shane has provided, the only conflict that I had in terms of the structure not meeting our farm stand definition was whether it conflicted with the DMV's definition of a trailer with a VIN number and being mobile and all of that. And if Shane can prove it's not a trailer that's registered, trailer isn't a trailer, will never be a trailer in the buy it as a trailer, he won't sell it as a trailer, then maybe our recognition of his structure as a trailer is what's at fault here. So
Okay,
that's,
all right. Mark?
No, I just wanted to provide a little background too. One of the things that I did mention to Shane was that I agree. I think the definition is lacking. And there are some other things in the land use ordinance that need to be taken care of. One of the things that I did explain to Shane is we can change the definitions. One of the things that Max and I talked about is also setbacks. Doesn't really make sense to have 100-foot setback for a farm stand. The whole idea of a farm stand is have it closer, but that's what we have to live with because that's what's in the ordinance. We're looking at potential changes of this. What is it going to take? But it all has to go to the planning board. And when I explained to Shane, we can go to the planning board and make changes. You can address the planning board and ask for changes. But these things take time. And that's something that Shane couldn't do because it would take 6 to 9 months to do, and it would interfere with the season. So again, we were left with the definitions of what we have in the ordinance. And I did the same thing to a person that was on Route 1 as well, that wanted to, you know, do the same thing to a bus. And the thing was that it's a bus.
Right.
So I am being consistent with what I feel is the interpretation of the ordinance. Does it need to be updated? Yeah, I totally agree. It needs to be updated, it needs to be cleaned, and it needs to be better defined on, what is acceptable to the town for, food trucks versus, farm stands. So, the question that Shane brought up once was, well, Spears is a farm stand. And I'm like, well, no, it isn't. It's a business. Codes depend on different things for building codes and FBA codes, and everything has an occupancy and a definition of what it is, and that's what we have to go by. So, and again, that's what I was faced with is, okay, I need to make a decision on what it is. Has nothing to do with if he had another structure that he wanted to put there, and I told him that. That's a farm stand, but the trailer becomes an issue, so.
But why? Is anybody's health endangered?
It's not up
Is
to
it
me to
like-
decide.
No, but you
I don't
started
make
this.
book.
No, but it's not in there. It's,
By it.
You're
not
doing this,
being
Mark.
in there. No, I'm not.
you are.
I denied the person across the street
That
about
has-
the same identical thing.
A bus you can go in. Like it has a motor. It can drive. It's got electricity. Like there's a
So if it
lot
takes
of,
the wheels off, is it now? a farm
no,
stand?
but I'm,
But you can enter it.
But
like-
that's what I'm getting at.
When we have
This
a
is the
license.
definition I'm given. And that's the decision that I had to do.
So Russ, we can only go by what's currently in the ordinance.
Right.
And
Yeah.
this is what,
Right.
so, and this is what it is. I think we're all saying, the definition sort of is lacking. But we're also seemingly trying to stick with a strict interpretation of an ordinance that's not concise or either. So do we have latitude, given the language as it currently exists, to be more flexible in our interpretation? Because how I define a booth, a stall, a stand, or a temporary structure, and how you do, and if you showed us various pictures of structures, we might have a difference of opinion.
That's right.
Because the ordinance doesn't provide us further guidance.
That's why you do it by vote.
But Mark, on the other hand, is strictly going by his interpretation of what's on the printed page and saying a trailer isn't a booth, a stand, a blah, 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 a structure.
Right.
I read this too, and I can argue the fact that, well, maybe my interpretation. I think we're trying to have a strict interpretation of an ordinance that is not clearly enough defined to support a strict interpretation. Does that make any sense?
That's worth saying.
So I'm struggling with the role of the appeals board in this matter, since we can't change the language, but the appeal in front of us is to be more flexible with the definition to incorporate an entity such as what was once a trailer into the definition. And do we have that authority if we wanted to? That's as an appeals committee.
Well, each one of us can decide after hearing, listening to everybody, is his structure. I'm not calling it one thing or another. The structure he's given us in his appeal is that meet the definition of that's required.
Yeah. I mean, the burden of proof is on Shane. And to be frank, if you had come to us also with some more information about this structure, some of the information that's coming out in the hearing, like it's not registered, it's never been registered, it wasn't purchased as a trailer. I still don't know, does it have a VIN number still on it or
Doesn't.
not? Most items like this do have VIN numbers. It's very hard to legally remove a VIN number from a trailer and other vehicle. But anything that would have strengthened your case because you have the burden of proof of saying this
but my case
thing
was,
that looks like a horse trailer is really a booth.
but my case was never about the details of the trailer, because my case was that in the land ordinance in Waldeboro, it doesn't say I can't repurpose something to be a stall. I can't take a horse stall and make it a food stall.
See,
repurposing stuff.
You didn't ask us that question, and that's not what we have to make
Okay.
it. Again, it's the limitations of what we can do here.
Right,
You just said, is a structure, the only thing in front of us is that
yeah,
a stand? Is
See,
that a farm
In
stand?
your application
That's
to
all it
us,
is.
in the appeal you gave us, number 16, you defined the unit as a horse trailer.
mhm,
This is, so in my mind, that's adding to the ambiguity in working around the existing definition of a farm
so
stand.
if I
in
call
our
if I call it
ordinance.
a shed with wheels, then that,
Doesn't, it's what, it's the pictures.
yeah,
It's what you gave us.
Yeah.
right? However anybody's calling it, is
Okay.
that thing.
Yep.
That item. Okay, is that a farm stand?
Yeah.
Under the
The
ordinance.
definition of
Like my
business.
colleague reads the ordinance and says, well, he doesn't think that includes a mobile structure. I have a little bit of a difference of opinion about that. It doesn't say anything here that would prohibit a mobile structure.
No, that's a state regulation. The state regulates mobile food stands.
Yeah,
so to
but
speak,
we're
okay?
talking about, but we're not dealing with any of that. We're dealing with our definition of a farm stand.
Right, but all, you raised.
I
it,
haven't
so-
even looked at what the state's definition of, a farm stand is. Matter of fact, I think that it's at the state entity has the responsibility of overseeing whether, their whole operation is appropriate in terms of what they're growing, what they're selling, how they're selling it, where they're selling it,
Right.
and what kind of a structure, whether it's meets, the health and safety concerns of the people, the customers in the state of Maine.
and
What we're doing is trying to figure out whether it meets our land ordinance, right?
That's right.
And this is the only thing that our land ordinance says, unless I'm wrong, is where the structure can be located. Right,
That's
the
it.
setbacks and all of that, and whether it meets our definition of a stand. Because the trailer definition isn't even our definition, that's the DMV definition of a trailer. That is being quoted here
Mhm.
in Mark's response to Shane.
Mhm.
So, the question before us is, given what we've heard about the structure, and we could all decide whether we have enough information to even make a decision, whether we need more information or not, to decide whether the structure that Shane provided can loosely fit into our ill-defined definition of a farm stand.
Okay. Any other comments? Ready to vote? There's two questions in front of us. The first is that item a farm stand? Okay, so I've already written this out so that we can just type, strike through yes, no by our votes and so forth. And so that basically what the decision that we're asking is on, let's see if I get my glare.
Can I just ask one more question?
Sure, yeah.
You did provide a photograph of something. That's not the actual,
nope, that's just a common
that's
farm stand
just an example.
of what farm stand
Yeah.
looks like.
So
in the
your
world.
stand looks like this.
Right,
This
and
illustration.
I would love to hear the difference in those two. The
So the question is, here's what I'm reading. By vote of X out of 4, this 4 of us, the board interprets the meaning of the terms of the ordinance in question as follows. Article 15.2, definitions of farm stand, does or does not include the trailer described in the applicant's appeal application. That's the first question. Then the next one follows from that. By vote of X out of 4, the board determines that the code enforcement officer did or did not act in accordance with the procedures of the ordinance. And yeah, I'm happy to have more discussion if you want, but that's the decision.
See, I think what we're dealing with is a definition of a farm stand in the land ordinance,
Right.
which isn't specific enough. And Mark's interpretation of it, because he has to go by the same language that we have to go by in the ordinance. His interpretation of the language may be different than our individual interpretations of the language, because the definition actually looks like it could be shored up.
Yeah, it's okay. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not all gonna have necessarily the same opinion. Right? We could have a different opinion from Mark, we could have the same opinion. You know, that's why we're here, and that's why ultimately the process is you take a vote. And just, that's what you end up with, because you're not gonna have an identical view all the time.
But what I'm saying is sometimes the land ordinance is pretty black and white. It's clear cut. Like if something has to be offset so many feet from, the road, that's pretty precise.
Mhm.
And then, your second question about whether, Mark appropriately or inappropriately, made a decision based on, what's in the ordinance. That would be, he either did or he didn't, and we either measured or we didn't measure correctly. But the definition, it's not, I think you take 100 people and pose the question to them, and they could be very divided because the definition isn't precise enough in our land ordinance, is all I'm saying.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody who, who should have done something or provided a different interpretation because it's not a failure of any individual. It's that what we have to go by is not specific enough. That's my concern.
So we just take all the facts we can, and then we have to make a choice. And if there were 4 different people up here, they might make different choices.
Can we also, as an appeal committee, make the formal recommendation that the definition be reviewed?
Yeah,
even though
Max
that
will,
take-
Max will take it to the planning board. It sounds like you're already.
He doesn't work here anymore.
Yeah, my last day.
He has a
Really?
replacement that's true.
Yeah,
Ah,
but the new plan.
The new one will.
New Max.
We'll leave her a sticky note.
yeah, Max, gonna go off on a Mad Max trip. All right, any more comments? Ready to vote on this? So,
And can we also potentially, in our individual decisions, request that maybe Shane come back with further information about his structure that maybe hasn't been provided?
That
Well,
would be a
then you'd have
Or
continuance
is
here.
his verbal testimony about the nature of the structure now suffice to fill in what wasn't on the application?
you can include that in your decision if you want, in your
Okay,
judgment.
all
Yeah, I think he wants to do business and be like on his way to sell vegetables, so. I don't think. he
They're,
wants
they're
to-
right, man.
Yeah,
I just want to sell them.
I don't think he wants us to continue the hearings on and on. It's,
Well, it sounds like he's either gonna sell his items out of his wooden structure,
yeah,
or he'd prefer to sell it out of his converted trailer structure.
Because
Yeah.
you can lock the trailer.
It's down by
up.
Route 1. It's far from my house. I would like to be able to lock up all my display stuff. To have a cash box and, stuff out that far away from my house is risky to me. Being able to lock it and secure it easier. Plus, I have this awesome trailer. I'm gonna use it for something. Whether it's
Can I ask
this,
one more question? Is the question really, can an old horse trailer or an old trailer be repurposed into something else?
Question
Because-
is that,
No, I know, but that's really it's Mark's interpretation that no, that cannot be, but in our business, we see them every day as oyster bars, as bars that are mobile bars. We
Yes.
see them as food stands. We see them. So a trailer in the state of Maine is not just a trailer that is hauled places. It's used for other things. So upcycling a trailer that's never been roadworthy, I'm the one that bought it. I actually didn't buy it. It was given to me. So it's actually never been registered at all. It's never, seen the DMV or the town office at all. And it's just been repurposed over and over again.
Well, I think that what you'll find is that 90% of the farmers who do the farmers markets are towing trailers. And they're backing them up and they're unloading their stuff onto a wooden table setup. That's just the way it is in Maine. Cause like that's where I shop. I don't go to Hannaford. Like everything I buy is local. And the issue we have in front of us is not whether or not you can tow the trailer around and sell vegetables out of it. It's specifically in the town of Waldeboro. Is a trailer considered a food stand?
Right.
That's what we're looking at. right?
And if I were to use the trailer as a storage unit.
Yeah.
And on farm stand days, open it up, move the table a foot outside of it.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden,
Now
totally
you-
cool.
Now you're in. a
Goes
world-
back in, close it up at night.
Yeah.
So literally just same thing. But I just moved the table 6 inches out of the thing. We're cool.
Cause that would be a booth at that point, like you set up a booth, right? Cause it says booth.
Oh my
Right.
Cause it's.
I mean, I just asked the food inspector because I was in tears about
Yeah.
making a huge, double-sized garden
Guys,
and not being able to do so.
Yeah. I know, I assume the vote's coming soon and everything.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a vote unless anybody has more to say.
No. I'm good.
Okay. So my vote is that, this item is not a farm stand. So that's my view. Liz, is it a farm stand or not?
I think that it is a farm
Okay,
stand.
It isn't the farm stand.
it is not, okay?
Okay, with the configuration or the way it's set up with the booth, I'm gonna say it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have 2 yeses and 2 nos, so you needed 3 people to go along with your, so the decision is that it's not a farm stand. For whatever significance that is. I'm not even sure what the significance is, but that you asked us to decide, so that's what we're doing.
I mean, that was my only thing. I don't know what my next option is. DHHS said to talk to local representatives and state representatives and run it up the line, see where it goes from there. I don't know how this process works next. Is there an appeal
Yes,
process?
you have the right to appeal.
Yep, let's keep going.
Now, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that there is something to precedence, and I know you said you wanted to be fair to everybody and you denied the bus guy his. But if there's other examples, as Shane pointed out, that other businesses in the town are using similar trailers to sell goods on, like he mentioned one in particular.
Yes,
Um,
it's not in front of us.
it's not in front of us.
We
No,
have
but
to act on
I
the
no, I
information
understand
that's
that,
given
but
to
is
us.
is there something else? I mean. Okay, all right, I'm just kind of
Yeah, I
struggling
mean,
with that.
nobody's happy with it.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody's happy.
You can
with it.
advocate to someone to help change it, and then that's the only thing. But the decision today is what it is, so.
So you have 45 days to appeal this decision. To the Superior Court,
Okay,
okay?
which is Wiscasset?
Yeah.
Okay. Do that tomorrow.
Could I ask a question?
So hearing's closed now, but you can go ahead. If you want to have conversation, we can have some conversation.
I just would like to know how you can have a rejection of this when you don't have a definition of this,
Well, we have a definition.
but it's.
Maybe where some of us are thinking it's a poorer definition than
It's a
some,
very
but
broad definition.
But that's yes,
Have to work with. it.
that's our challenge, but we have to work with what's there.
Can you reject something when you don't have that particular thing.
Because
in-
they have the authority to do it.
I-
That's literally why they're here. That's why I paid them to
No.
be here.
We're not getting paid to be
I
here.
paid to be here. I mean, I paid.
We're
to do
not,
this.
we're
Yeah.
not getting paid.
Russell, if I may just
Yes,
say, it's like what Mark did allude to earlier. This was an attempt to just get a third party interpretation based on what was presented. But there are other parts in the ordinance that are flawed. I'm not gonna deny that. I've always wanted to make some updates to it. But we don't get to do a lot of these proactive changes until something comes up.
Mhm.
So updating the farm stand definition is probably what needs to be done, and if
Definitely.
a definition can be put forward and it could be on November's warrant, for all we know. It depends how fast this thing can be done. But I'm thinking of a different example of shipping containers. Mark probably had a fun field day with that 1 or 2 years ago where someone wasn't happy with it. It went and got changed almost quick as soon as we could. And we didn't have to deal with all this, but that was a few months of work that took place to have it done,
The
so
mark question.
it might just be a matter of updating that definition, so something like this would be fine.
Absolutely.
yeah.
But that's. I don't have anything more than what the board members just said. I'll leave that note for the incoming planner about updating the definition.
I wouldn't mind being involved in the definition if it comes to that. I'll just have to get a planning board meeting, like,
Yeah,
because I have input for it, so
that would be good.
that way we can clarify some things and set some parameters for, a monstrosity versus a farm stand or something like
Yeah.
that, right? So like, and I think, and the other, those are all discussions that would take place outside of this forum.
Right, yeah.
I'd like to see that. I
Yeah.
mean, because, public safety, I think, is what the reason that government exists.
Yeah,
And when you're not at risk, then it's just,
a lot of the towns. that
Wasted
handle these
taxpayer
ordinances,
money.
like, these don't necessarily get written by the town when they first get them, like they get presented to the towns to adopt a lot of the times, like it's like, I'll borrow this from that town, this town. And so it's up to the individual town to then tailor those ordinances to what the town itself wants to be, like, so the people of the town decide these things. So if there's a grievance, you say, we're gonna address this problem and we can rewrite it as the people. And then it goes out to a vote and a warrant, right? So then everybody agrees to it. And that's how the changes happen. So, Mark's doing his job, which is enforcement of the code as it is. And that's what he's looking at. This is the definition,
Yeah.
and that's his interpretation.
And actually, on that point, the way that is written up, looks like it was a 2-2, 2-2 vote for both questions.
Mhm.
And unless I fell asleep, I don't remember having heard the second question posed.
Okay, then we certainly, if one
Because my
follows, yeah,
point, I maybe poorly stated, my point was, given the ambiguity in the definition, I think Mark did his job by applying his interpretation to it, which might have been different from mine.
Yep.
So I wouldn't have said that he didn't,
okay,
the way it was worded, the second question.
yes, okay,
And
So I
agree
would-
that
I-
It's a
same thing,
four-person vote
Okay.
that says that, that he's,
good,
his interpretation.
So it would be, I think, 4 out of 4. but-
I think so.
good. Thank you.
all right.
I'll never look at a trailer the same way.
I know,
I have my note clips.
See you guys at the appeal?
we won't be there.
Oh, you won't be there. Oh, you guys won't be there.
It's at Superior Court.
All right.
Very quickly, can the board just motion to adjourn?